Hey everybody, today Nain is going to teach me something.
Yes, because Rico likes putting me on the spot and telling me, hey, teach me something.
Right, and again, we talked about the levels of understanding. This is his level 4/level 5, because it's going to be based on what his interpretation of everything that we've taught him. He being one of the instructors in our class, um, he's then going to create his own idea of it, which is his level 5. So he's already been doing level 4, and that's how does he teach it. Um, since he's been doing that for a while now, it's time to move on to his next level. And what is his version or idea of everything that has been given to him? So
Yeah, this is not nerve-wracking in the least bit.
And I did put him on the spot.
That is the process, though. We're trying to get to the point where you have the student interpret everything that you've given them into their own understanding, their own viewpoints. And the biggest thing that we've always talked about is body mechanics. We start off with the students understanding, okay, simple movements, the body mechanics that go behind them, but then
now, let me just add one thing before you start, because this is going to be important for the people watching. What he's going to teach and whatever it is, we didn't preset it of what he's going to show, but
no, it's just...
we have to understand that we have 2 hands, 2 feet, everybody's body's the same thing. So I'm not asking to teach me how to punch or how to do a particular drill or anything like that. What I'm actually asking him to do is to teach me the mentality behind whatever he's going to show me. So it sounds a little confusing, but if you thought about it, when you're given a lesson, how do you perceive it? You know, because since everybody sees things differently, how are you, the individual student, retaining that information and turning it into something that is useful for you because of the way your body type is, whether you're fat, small, skinny, whatever. But it has to work for you with your body type or whatever you're doing. But it all starts from up here, and that's the bladed mind idea, is that how did you come to this conclusion, and why does this work better for you because of what you do? So I thought that was important to say.
No.
You know, it's like,
caveat, right.
They're
And
just
then,
doing punches.
No. And then that's really what it boils down to, is the idea of, okay, what do you do in an actual fight? Well, what does this all amount to? And for me, the idea of mechanics always comes to mind. Very basic understanding of one movement to the other, left to right, up and down, side to side. That's all you can really do with your hands. Your feet, to a certain extent, same thing. But what does that become in a real fight? In a real fight, you don't necessarily know what the opponent knows. So he could swing wildly, he could have very sharp punches, he could be a boxer, he can chat. There's so many things that could happen in that process that you just don't know. So there's no way for me to say, oh, I'm going to wait for a specific punch. I'm going to wait for the left. I'm going to wait for the right. You're just going to have to see what happens. We don't strike first, but we will hit first. Which means I have to wait for him to make the first move. And as long as he doesn't, we're not fighting. No one's getting hurt. We're okay with that. We're not looking for a fight. But if we to get to that point, then what are you really seeing in that process? And you have to take the understanding of the mechanics that you learn for yourself, that you spend years developing based on whatever system you use, and understanding it so well that you're not looking for the specific movements in your opponent. You're not looking for a specific punch. But everything is connected.
But and it's funny that you say that, because a lot of times in traditional martial arts, especially in a karate tournament, you know, you're sitting there and you're waiting for a specific thing to happen. Oh, when the guy throws that right punch, you're going to block and you're going to punch to the chest, whatever that may be, or you know, whatever happens. But you recall all these lessons that you've been doing, but in the street fight,
you don't have any of that.
It doesn't happen that way.
But like we said before, you only have 2 arms and 2 legs. So what are the connecting points behind every start of any movement? Well, first of all, are they in the proper range to even reach me? That right there gives you a good indicator. Because the moment he steps into a range, he has the potential to hit me. Now, do I wait until it's out here for me to do something? Or do I act on it beforehand? And that's really the mentality behind this. So the next time I'm already moving. Whether that punch came here, whether it came to the inside, I moved in this way because that's where I saw the punch going. And I went straight for an attack because I'm that close. He stepped in to hurt me. He is now in range, which means I am also in range. I'm not going to wait to disarm something here and then move on to an attack. Because why? That gives him time to attack. But the movement itself is what initiated everything to happen. And it looks like I'm just blocking, but really, if you put this arm down, I came up with my elbow here. A simple movement, which is no different than his punch. The mechanics that he used for his punch, everything has to turn. His body came forward, his hips turned, his shoulders turned, this got extended. Those same mechanics work on my side, but because I understand the mechanics behind what somebody has to do in order to hurt me, I can then nullify it, cut it off, or simply avoid it, depending on the situation. So now I'm not looking for anything specific. I just need to understand that he's doing something towards me, and I have to do something in response.
You know, you had said earlier that most likely you don't know what the guy's going to do, right? I mean, the thing is, you just don't know. They're not even, you know,
it's not even most likely.
yeah,
Well,
it's
yeah.
not even an idea to, because you have no clue.
Right.
And it's not like we can read minds and say, oh, I know he's going to do X, Y, Z. The best you can do is hope for that whatever it is, that you are going to be able to handle it. And because you've thought it through and everything else, I like this lesson and I like how you're presenting it, because I never said it to him this way.
No.
This is something he came up with
Putting
as
up
far
in
as
my
what
head, yeah.
he's, you know, there's some elements that sure I know about it, and we did discuss it, but the way he's presenting this lesson
Right.
is very much the way he has devised it.
This is how I'm interpreting it, and
Yeah.
in taking it a step further, going a little beyond, say, the more advanced concepts of it. Now you're looking at the structure of your opponent in the sense of, if he's trying to harm me, whether it be a fist, an elbow, a kick, doesn't matter. You're trying, or my process, my mentality is, I want to stop that from being able to harm me, whatever it may be. If he has something in his hands, doesn't matter. I just want to make sure that I do not get hurt. So if he throws anything, whatever he wants at that point, sit there. Now, that was big. You can tell by the wind-up that he was coming forward. He was going to extend his hand. I moved off to my side, off center from where he was, because I knew that's what he was reaching. I was here. This is his target. I moved the target. And it can become as simple as that. Just by understanding what is happening in front of you at that moment. Not what you think is going to happen, not what you're expecting to happen, but actually acknowledging what's in front of you. You also have the understanding of the mechanics behind it, because you spent the time to understand, oh, the hips move this way, oh, the shoulder goes back, because everyone cocks back in order to throw something. Even us, the way we strike, we chamber in order to drop our hand. Oh, that's our strike, that's our number one strike. Then R11 on the other side. So there are little nuances that have to happen no matter what system you're involved in, because the human body is the way it is. And if you start paying attention to those little things, you can put yourself in the most advantageous place. To take it a step further, if he does that again, now I'm taking out his knee. Why? Because that's the structure. That's what holds him up. That's what's going to keep that thing moving forward.
Ouch.
He stepped into that one. That wasn't me. But now I'm breaking down his structure while maintaining my own, while staying calm, breathing, and relaxed. I'm able to break down his structure and move on to something else. If that was enough to stop the fight, great. But if it isn't, then we continue on and on and on. Then we go again. He throws another punch. Now, I just went straight to this. I wasn't trying to hurt him. I didn't know he was going to throw that punch. I thought he was going to throw that one. That was my honest mistake. But what I did was I stopped his momentum from moving forward. Because if you notice, whenever he threw a punch, he had to get going and extend to generate force. That's what everyone teaches you. It's a very basic understanding of any punch, any kick. You generate momentum either by turning the hips or stepping in. Very basic understanding that I just picked up based on the idea of the mechanics that we've been talking about and what I've seen in other systems do. But I didn't know he was going to do that. He didn't tell me. My
And
only thought...
he didn't care. Is the other part. You know.
I cared enough to know what was happening in that moment. But not so much that I became worried and concerned and tense and then agitated about it. Because a lot of times that's what hinders a lot of people. It's the mental process behind it. But if you can eliminate that mental process, that frustration, by just breaking everything down in its most basic ideas that you can't refute, that are based on the scientific structure of the human body, movement, leveraging, all these things that come into play into any martial art, you start connecting the dots between the movement of the body and how those things happen, well, then you can start stopping them. You don't have to let them generate any force. The moment somebody steps up to you and you put your hands up, I'm not in any way aggressive. I'm not putting my hands on my dukes and I'm getting structured for a fight. This, if somebody saw this, I'm the aggressor. He's talking shit, but he has his arms nice and folded, but he's being the aggressor at the beginning, and then I do this. Now I'm the aggressor. Now I'm the bad guy. I'm the one who's trying to start the fight. But I'm being defensive at the same time by putting my hands up, because why? Well, in order for him to reach me, his target, he has to cross my hands. So if I put him up in a sense of defense, saying, hey, I don't want to do this, I don't want to get involved, because you do want to walk away from a fight as best as possible. If you can avoid it, avoid it. If not, you're ready for something. Because the moment that he steps in beyond that, then I can move into something else. And again, I don't know what he was doing. My hands were there, his hand was there, so I moved it. I moved it down to a place where it's no longer a threat to me. Whether that elbow hit him or not is dependent on how aggressive the situation has become. Again, I can't train for every possible scenario. There's no way. There's way too many variables out in a real fight for you to ever train every little thing. But if you can cover your bases, break down the person's mechanics. All right, well, now they're not strong enough to actually hurt you. All right? They're still going. They're trying to muscle their way through. Okay, well, maybe now I have to apply some force, whether it's a strike, whether it's a hold, whether it's a lock. If they still continue after that, then it can escalate as it needs to. But I'm no longer worried about getting hurt, because the understanding gives me that cushion to say, okay, I can do this, I can do that, I can do this, I can do that, I can do that. Whatever it is I need to, as hard as I have to go or as soft as I have to go, depending on the situation and the opponent.
Wow, that was actually a very good lesson. I'm impressed. I mean, and again, you know, what he just showed you is nothing that we set up. I just say, hey, I want you to teach me something in front of the camera.
Yeah, and then he ran to get the camera as he left me sitting there thinking about it for about 2 minutes.
Yeah, and all of this was just something that came out of the top of his head as far as what he understands and how he's going to give the lesson. Very well done. I thought you articulated very well. A lot of things that you were saying made simple sense. And I think that's the key thing, is that you're making simple sense.
And that's a thought that actually just popped up now, is that once you have an understanding of what it is you're trying to accomplish, you're actually going to use this for, then you can go back and work on the drills, work on the mechanics that you want to develop. Oh, I want to be able to stay structured more as I move my feet faster. Oh, okay, well then you work on a stepping drill. Oh, I want my hands to be more coordinated. Well, then you do something like Sinawali or one of the other drills. Parry place trap,
Right.
Whatever other names there are for it. But you do these things now with the mentality of where the end result is going to be. Where are you going to actually use this?
Right.
Not for something specific, but just because that skill set is going to aid you in being in keeping yourself safe or avoiding a situation altogether, whether it's a punch or a kick or just the person in general. Oh, I'm sorry, I move out of the way as you're running into me. That may be enough to get away from a situation. But I have the forethought to go back and work on those little things because I now have an end result.
Right. Well, awesome. Perfect. Exactly what we need.
All right.
Thank you very much. You're awesome.